Yeah, so so how do we accomplish, fair market value? And this is Lukka Prime, which is our flagship pricing product. We vet all the exchanges before we use them. So as I mentioned before, there's literally hundreds of exchanges in the world in which you can transact in Bitcoin. We do not use all of them, and we vet them through our price integrity oversight board. So today we use 16 exchanges that we vetted and we feel appropriate to determine fair market value. But essentially, we assign scores, we adjust those by the volume, we decay those to make sure that we're using timely data, and then we actually select an actual transaction from the highest ranking market. So that's kind of the overview, if you will. So essentially, we're looking at collecting the data, and standardization, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, is very important. Is exchanges don't always agree on the ticker, they don't always agree on the naming convention, and then we have these things called crypto actions, which are the equivalent of corporate actions, right? So even if exchanges are going to behave in a similar manner, like we've just experienced something that was pretty prevalent in the ecosystem, many of you might be familiar with the ETH merge, right, which resulted in a hard fork and a new proof of work token. But it wasn't immediately clear of like what that would play out. How are the exchanges going to support it? Are they going to support the new asset? And if they do, they may not even do it at the same time, right? So you quickly get down this rabbit hole of complexity, right, which our team manages completely. But that's really the first step. Is with anything in data, that you can't do anything without good, clean, quality data. So we normalize, map, maintain all the underlying data. We assign a base exchange score. What this is essentially looking at is both qualitative and quantitative factors about the exchange. So as I mentioned before, AML and KYC type practices are required. We look at the jurisdiction and we express a view. We realize that not every country has similar kind of levels of quality of oversight of their financial markets, and we do express a view there in our methodology. We also look at kind of volume and bid-ask spreads, and then we apply what we call a base exchange score, right? And then this base exchange score is then subsequently adjusted for volume, and then we decay that. So what we're essentially looking to do is, where's the market that has been vetted for quality, has significant amount of volume, right? We've tested kind of the trades versus the order books to potentially detect nefarious activity going on, such as wash trading, so on and so forth. And then we decay that. So we also make sure that not only are we using quality data, high volumes, we're actually making sure that we're using timely data. So that's the decay function, right? As I mentioned before, liquidity can rotate between exchanges, and we want that process to be dynamic, right? And that's the reason why something like Lukka Prime is effective in crypto, and you can't just set it and forget it, so to speak, for your principal market. And that's an important point. So once we decay the volume, we'll have a bunch of scores across the exchanges, and then we'll select one with what we call the highest DVAS score. And then from there, we actually use an actual traded level, which fair market value requires you to do, right? And that becomes the Lukka Prime level for that point and at that point in time.